So let's get started. And first thing first is that the news of recession. I think we hear a lot, and then we know we have so many buyers right now saying like, we're going to take a pause on home buying. And most of them said that, oh, my coworker told me, the recession is going to last for another year or so, or we're just really worried because all the internet has been talking a lot about recession. I'm not saying like they are not true, but I'm just saying that there are a lot of negative news on the internet and also among our network right now. So let's do this today is that I want to dissect this. What is recession and what are the data on the market? So we can make some informed decision whether you should go in or not into the real estate market. First of all, I want to remind everybody to subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of videos. We also started to create these shorts because I know it gets pretty long, so we split it up. So it takes about a minute or so for you to digest some of the data. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Lastly, of course, don't forget to connect with us on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. We try to keep our audience as informed as possible because Hailing Group, we really believe in educating our clients so that we can empower them and help them make the right decision on their real estate. There are some factors that can lead to a recession, and there are 6 that most people look at. The first one is 2 consecutive quarters of economic contractions, and most of the time they look at the GDP. And then, of course, if you see that there are rises in bankruptcies, defaults, or foreclosures, and as we see that there are high interest rates, and then asset prices dropped, which include cost of homes and also the stock market, rise in unemployment rate, and also lowered consumer spending and consumer confidence. So these are not the only 6 factors, but these are the 6 main factors that can lead to a recession. So let's take a look at them and see what you guys think. This is actually historic data on our economic expansion by duration. And we did have a pretty darn long economic expansion. We had 129 months. It is really the longest in history, and which also one of the reasons why a lot of people have been talking about, like, because we had such a long economic expansion, we're due for a adjustment of our economy. And so that's why we're going to have probably a pretty long recession as well. The next longest was 120 months in 1991 to 2001. But does it mean that we're going to go into recession? It could be, very well could be. So let's look at what other economists might say. Here it says that the group of prestigious economists responsible for declaring official recession takes into account 6 major factors, such as the health of the labor market, as well as household income and spending. But I wanted to know who these economists are. And this is current members in the National Bureau of Economic Research and their business cycle dating committee members. And they are the one who will make a decision that, okay, we are officially in recession. If we look at the GDP annual growth rate, here we see that our annual growth rate in the beginning of 2022 is about 3.6%. The number doesn't look too bad, but we did have a dip for sure. We are coming down, but we were as high as over almost 12% in 2021. And our numbers actually is still pretty good, even though it's dipping right now. Compared to the last 7-8 years, we are still pretty high up there. Even though we have a dip, just by looking at the growth rate wise, it doesn't look too bad. And of course, we were coming back up from a very, very bad 2020 during the COVID started, and then we pumped it up because there was just so much money in the economy. And so our growth rate has shot up quite a bit in 2021. And now this is the time that when we are starting to slow down. Again, earlier we said that it's 2 consecutive quarter growth rate, right? So let's look at the real GDP and the percentage change from the previous quarter. So if we're looking at 2022 Q1, and then the number right now, we are having a negative GDP currently compared to the last quarter. Again, it's only July 20th, so probably we don't have the 2Q 2022 number yet. But this is what everybody's speculating. Are we going to have a second quarter of negative number? We're going to have those members to determine that whether we're officially going to having a recession right now. So we definitely see that Q1 we have a negative GDP, but we're going to see Q2 in a couple more weeks, whether it's also showing a negative number. Now, The second factor that we talked about was the bankruptcy and foreclosure filing. So I looked at the United States courts website to see the total bankruptcy filings by chapter, like chapter 7, 11, 12, and 13, and then see whether we have like a drastic increase in bankruptcy filings. But by looking at this, it looks like we are actually way below the previous 4 years numbers, 288,000 for chapter 7, which is the lowest if we combine to look at the last 4 years. Same thing for chapter 11, chapter 12, and chapter 13. So it looks like bankruptcy wise, we are doing okay, unless in the last 6 months, we're going to have a huge increase in the bankruptcy filings. Then of course that will be a different story. But at least right now, just by looking at 2021, we are really way below what the past 4 years have been doing. And in terms of foreclosures, I look at Black Knight, their mortgage monitor. We look at April and May, and I look at the average days delinquency and how many loans have been delinquency. Now, 30 days delinquency, we have about 671,000. 60 days delinquency, 184, 193. 90 days plus delinquency, about 639,000 versus 595 in May. And the ones that are actually foreclosed, they're about 173,000 and 174,000 for the month of May, and total non-current that total up to about $1.6 million approximately. If I look at that and compare prior to the biggest recession we had around 2007, we are actually below that number by quite a bit. As you see that in 2007, 30 days delinquency is $1.4 and $1.7 million in 2007, 2008 versus 671,000. This is much less than half of what we had before. Same thing for 60 days delinquency. This is 468 at 676,000 versus only 184 and 193. And a 90 days delinquency, 551,000 and 950,000 in 2008. And versus 639,000 and 595,000. And the foreclosure, we had 393 in 2007, and it jumped up to 813,000 in 2008, where in the month of May, we had about 171,000 here. Well, by the way, of course, we're talking about the month only, but then the number is still much below the 2007 and 2008 numbers. Let's compare the numbers for pre-COVID. We also have much less compared to just pre-COVID number. In my eyes, for foreclosure, we've been talking about this probably since 2020, and I've been comparing these numbers quite a bit in the past episodes. And I just don't see a high foreclosures, which was the main reason that caused the previous recession. In terms of foreclosure filings and bankruptcy filings, we're doing okay. But what about the interest rate now? The interest rate, we all know that it has been going up, especially the Federal Reserve. They are increasing the Fed fund rates in 2016 and 2020. As you see that we were actually pretty high, and then it was as high as 2.5%. And then in 2020, that's when they just dropped the Fed fund rate because of COVID. Our economy shut down, so they dropped the interest rate quite a bit. But now they are increasing it quite fast, drastically. We dropped it so fast, and we're increasing it, maybe not as fast as we dropped it, but then we are increasing it pretty quickly still. Just like last month in June, we actually went up about 0.75%. So going from 1%, we went up to 1.75%. And we are expecting in next week, Federal Reserve going to announce the Fed fund rate increase. It's probably going to go up to 2.5, but I did hear that they might even consider increasing by full percentage points to 2.75. So, well, that of course will have some kind of effect on our mortgage rate as well. So I believe that we should all expect to be about 2.5 to 2.75% by next week. Now, then, of course, about mortgage rates now, and we have been seeing increase on our mortgage rates. We always tracked how they are projecting about the mortgage rate, and we see Freddie Mac increase their projections quite a bit since October 2021 versus their last projections was in April, which went up 110 basis point. So again, a reminder is that even these agencies have the best economists or the best analysts to project their mortgage rate, they still adjusted quite frequently. As you see that in 4Q 2022, they adjusted 130 basis point compared to last year's projections. But then they all projecting about 4.8 to 5% until 2Q 2023. Fannie Mae, though, they had adjusted their projections from last month, actually lowered their projections. They thought it was going to be 5.1. Now they're projecting 3Q is going to be just around 5, 4Q 2022, about 5% as well, and 1Q 2023. And they think that it might start to come down slightly in 2Q 2023. Not by a lot, but at the same time, as I mentioned, that they adjust their projections quite often, and Fannie Mae had adjusted their projections from last month and became a little bit more optimistic. As for Mortgage Bankers Association, no, there's no adjustment to their projections. They're staying the same at 5.1 and 5% 30 years for the next few quarters. And National Association of Realtors, this is projections compared to last year until April. And then they have adjusted to about 5.2 to 5.4 in 2023 2Q. So the average of all four, because of the adjustments for Fannie Mae, we actually came down a little bit, right around 5% all the way until 2Q 2023. Now, Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, and also Mortgage Bankers Association, they did 2 more quarters after basically 2023 3Q and 2023 4Q. And as you see that, it looks like Fannie Mae and Mortgage Bankers Association, which they both have the most recent projections, they are both projecting that 2023 3Q and 4Q, the mortgage rate will be coming down at that point. So I feel like that's actually pretty good, but then we'll see if next month they're going to adjust their projections again. Hopefully the projections would look better because right now, I know of the last couple of months, our chart here is all red because everybody was adjusting, moving up their mortgage rate. But now it looks like we actually have some more optimism towards the mortgage rate coming down a little bit by next year, 2023 3Q. Housing and stock prices. This is our third factor that might lead to recession. Let's take a look at the stock market. I usually use Wilshire 5000 because they are more of a total market index and they have the most stocks in this index. I know everybody who we work with, our clients, our friends, a lot of them, they said they've been telling me that they don't really want to look at their portfolio because it looks really depressing. And that's also one of the main reasons why, especially in our market, the Bay Area market, it does affect our buyers' decision to purchase real estate or not. Most of our clients and most of their down payment comes from their stock portfolio. So because it has gone down quite a lot since the beginning of the year. So a lot of our clients actually have paused because much of their down payment have gone down in value and they just didn't really want to pull it out anymore. Or some of them have pulled it out, but they just don't even have enough money anymore to put as down payment. So this is one of the main reasons for our Bay Area buyers to really pause the decision on home buying. So the housing market, let's look at the months of inventory. It has gone up from January 0.9, like less than 1 month of inventory, gone up to 3.6 months of inventory. Now, we have been talking about this last 2 months as well. It's like, oh, it's still less than 2 months. It has been going up. It's still less than 2 months. But in July, it really has gone up quite a bit. Now, we actually, at normal market, we've been mentioning is that in the normal market, it should be right around four months of inventory. And sure enough, we are getting very close to that. And now we start seeing property staying on the market a lot longer, or we see a lot more inventory on the market. In terms of days on the market versus sales over list price ratio for all 4 counties I mentioned, Santa Clara, Alameda, San Mateo, and also Contra Costa counties. And as you see that days on the market, we went from about 9 days, 7 days, a week long to now 13 days. And everybody's freaking out because it's, oh my gosh, it's almost 2 weeks of being on the market. And then we don't see double digits percentage sales price over asking price anymore. We dropped down to 4%, 4.2%. I think we are so used to seeing like at least 10% over, 20% over asking price, but now we only see 4.2% for across 4 counties. So we definitely see a much slowdown on the market. But you know what? I find it kind of interesting. I always think back how in the beginning of the year, we kept talking about, we track these numbers a lot. And we have been talking about, hey, by the time we hit June, the market's going to slow down. We're going to have less people make offers. And then remember, July and August, this is also one big misconception by a lot of buyers or sellers, is that they always think July and August is the best time. It has the most buyers on the market and the best time to sell. As a matter of fact, we have the least number of buyers on the market because most families, they go on vacation. And I think, I'm in the same position as a lot of families with young kids, is that they are out of school, they're in summer, they have summer camps, or they're home, and it's just really hard to focus. And so a lot of families just like, let's just go take vacation instead of going house hunting. So July and August typically has always been slower, but of course, in addition to all these factors, it really affected the housing market quite a bit. Because of the market changes, now we are looking at how many listings have been withdrawn and canceled. Look at January and February, how little number, like in Santa Clara County, San Mateo, Alameda, and Contra Costa County, it's like less than 100 listings will be withdrawn and canceled because whatever comes out, it sells. At the time, the market was really, really, really hot. But as soon as May started, we saw a huge increase on the number of listings being withdrawn or canceled because they realized that, hey, my property cannot be sold in less than 2 weeks anymore. Buyers are still in that, at the time, they still have that psychology. It's like, well, if a property stays on the market for more than 1 weekend, there's something wrong with a property. It becomes not attractive at all to even look at these properties if they stay more than 10 days on the market. But now, and then because the market has slowed down so much, June, we have 400 listings from Santa Clara County. It came down, which is a 36% increase from the month of May. And then for San Mateo County, now we have 132 listings that withdrawn or canceled compared to May, and that's 31% increase. And then as for Alameda County, 440 versus 332, that's 33% increase. And as for Contra Costa County, it's slightly better. It's 9% more than the month of May. But if you look at the July, just for about 20 days, we're probably going to be on the same track as the month of June, where we're going to see quite a bit of listings being withdrawn or canceled, mainly because sellers just can't sell at the price that they wanted from the previous height. Because of that, we look at also before they withdraw the listings, usually they have a price adjustment. Santa Clara County, we see a huge increase. From May, it was 292 listings, and in June, it was 236. But just the first 20 days in July, we have 413 listings have a price decrease. And San Mateo County, same thing, just the 20 days, we already have more than the entire month of June or month of May. 157 listings dropped their price. And as for Alameda County, we have 449 in just 20 days, way higher than June, the month of June and month of May. And lastly is Contra Costa County. Same situation, 526 listings dropped their prices. I know it looks scary. It is scary, I guess, for sellers, unfortunately. I got a message from a friend the other day, and she was asking me because her friend is trying to sell her house, and buyer makes appointment to see the house and then later cancel without even notifying the seller. And they're very frustrated because seller at this time, they cannot sell their property easily, right? Especially if they're still living in the property, they have to stay there and then clean up every time they have an appointment or have a showing. When buyers or buyers agents don't notify them they're not going to come, they actually put in all this effort. They get really stressed out. They have coordinated with everybody's schedule and then nobody show up. They felt like, is it me? I'm just having bad luck. I told my friend, I'm like, please let your friend know it's not them. It is the market. The market right now is just really slow. Buyers have a lot more options. They just feel like, hey, I saw your property, I liked it, and then maybe 15 minutes later, they see another property online, or a day later, they see another property online and they like that one better and they forgot to cancel yours. So, I mean, I just want to give that words of encouragement to sellers. One is that it's not really you having bad luck. It's really the market right now is just a bit slow. So just be patient. And in terms of median sales price, because we talked about, right, one of the factors is that the housing price dip. So as you see that starting in June and July, the median sales price have been coming down a bit. It's not 10% yet, but then we definitely getting close to that if we continue to go down. But we have gone up significantly starting from January 2022 all the way to May 2022, and then now June and July we're starting to see that the prices have come down. So Santa Clara County, The median sales price for July, the first 20 days, is 1.755. San Mateo County is $1.96 million in July 2022, and Alameda County is 1.35 as of July 2020th. And Contra Costa County is $900,000. We looked at stock price, we looked at housing price. Now let's look at unemployment rate real quick. We know that our employment rate actually is still doing pretty good. As of June of 2022 is 3.6%. So it doesn't look too bad compared to all the way to 2002. In the last 20 years, we are actually doing pretty well with unemployment rate. Although I know that we started hearing a lot more layoffs in the Bay Area. It's still in the hundreds right now for some companies. Overall, the employment rate is still doing pretty good. In terms of consumer confidence, retail sales rose more than expected in June as consumers remain resilient despite inflation. This is really interesting. This is from Morning Consult, and then they did this research. Basically, if you look at people who make less than $50,000 versus people who make more than $50,000, so people who make less than $50,000 is a lot more price sensitive during this inflation pressure, while people who make more than $50,000 is not as sensitive towards this inflation pressure. And then if we break it down to different type of purchasing, you see that, for example, trips and vacations, 29% increase in price, but the net purchase and purchasing intentions is only down 3%. It's really not too bad. I mean, I just came back from Nashville, like I mentioned. I had to take this trip. It's a business conference, but the price, I had to pay over $1,000 just for the plane ticket. And that was crazy. I don't think I've ever paid more than $1,000 for domestic flight. I remember back then I would fly to Asia and I paid only $500-600, or maybe $800 would be the average. And now flying domestic is over $1,000, and I didn't even get to get free snacks on the plane. And then, of course, we look at the car and furniture that went up 13%. There is more significant changes in the purchasing intention for new cars or new furniture. You know, something more expensive, people do reduce their purchasing intention a lot more compared to something smaller in the hundreds of dollars or, you know, $1,000, $2,000. They are not as sensitive. So consumer confidence looks like it's still doing pretty good. In conclusion, we looked at those 6 factors now. Yeah, I think we might have another negative GDP. Doesn't look that great. In terms of bankruptcy, defaults, and foreclosure, looks like we're doing okay. And what about high interest rate? Well, high interest rate, it definitely is going up, but it looks like it's going to come down in the next few quarters. So the interest rate, it doesn't look like they're projecting it's going very high or very fast, but then it's pretty much stable and about 5 to 5.1%. Falling asset prices, definitely we are seeing that quite a bit. The price is definitely coming down, but unemployment looks like we're doing good. And we are actually doing good with the consumer spending and consumer confidence. So, Peter, what do you think?
I was giggling to myself about number 3, high interest rates, because my comment was going to be, I don't know if I'm excited or if I'm scared. After all that great information, that was a tremendous overview of everything that's happening in our economy right now. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Is we don't really know where we're going.
Yeah.
You know, recessions in the past have been very sort of, we can look in the past and calculate what caused the recession, but are we in that same time period now that we were back when? So it's tough. I know there's a lot of equity still sitting on the sidelines from COVID. So a lot of families have stocked up and they may be ready to spend it, and there's not a lot to spend it on right now. That's why they're okay with inflation and having higher costs of goods. I'm also not, I'm going to try not to fly as much as possible.
Well, that's true, because of now that Zoom becomes so such an easy and simple way to do business. But, you know, at the same time, I see other parts of the countries, they are really desperately wanting to be in person and see people, right? And so I don't know. I mean, people always ask me, what do you think this recession is going to be and how long it's going to last? I wonder if I can maybe ask everybody to chime in. And here is a poll. If you can vote for it, like, do you think that the recession is going to end by 2022 or 1Q 2023? 2Q 2023, 3Q 2023, 4Q 2023, or it will last more than 18 months? Well, it looks like the winner is, for now, is 3Q 2023. That's what most people think is going to end. But then we do have quite a few people think that it will end by end of this year, or 1Q 2023 or 2Q 2023. So we have some optimists, and then we have a very pessimist, is that it's going to last for more than 18 months. I hope not. All right, Peter, how about you? If I have to ask you to guess.
I went with the safe bet, which was the fourth quarter of 2023. That was my conservative bet, just to prepare myself.
Got it. Good. I think for a while I've been saying that it looks like it's going to be just 6 months. I feel like a lot of people, well, I shouldn't say recession. I'm just talking about in terms of housing market. I feel like that by January of 2023, we're going to see a lot more buyers coming out to buy. We're not going to see such a halt like right now, what we're seeing right now. So that's just my view.
So I wonder, Helen, we hear this phrase a lot, buyer's market or seller's market. What are we in today?
Today, we definitely is a buyer's market, but no, actually, it's funny. We've been saying among us, ourselves, like realtors, this is not a buyer's market nor a seller's market. Yeah. I mean, we have no market.
Right.
The reason is that
that's fair.
People are just so afraid to make an offer. Even if it's a really, really good deal, they still wouldn't make an offer. So we just feel like there's no market right now.
Interesting.
Thank you so much for watching our YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like our videos, make some comments, because we're going to keep you posted on the most updated real estate news, housing market data, and also real estate tips and advice from all over the real estate industry. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.